Woo-hoo. Off to a
Hey, happy
challenging start.
Friday. Yeah, well,
Yes.
you get happy because it's Friday, man.
Oh, I am happy. And I'm happy because tomorrow Lisa's taking me to Luca, which is a high-end Italian restaurant in
Ah,
Superior Viaduct on the west bank of the Flats. I can't wait because I have a birthday sometime within this month time frame.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday to you.
Thank
And
you. I just never want to pinpoint the birthday
I know,
because
I
it's
know.
another valuable point, part
It's
of
another one
information.
of those yeah, those
Yeah,
data points that they have. And that's a big deal. I
it
mean,
is. It is.
it used to feel like, oh, what's the big deal? Now we understand
Oh,
it's a big deal.
it's a
It's
big
a
deal.
big, big deal.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Oh, welcome to Over 50 Starting Over, everyone. I'm Barry Edwards.
and I'm Merle Garrison.
What are you
Hey,
going to
hey,
say?
Barry, I've
Mm.
been hearing about this thing called a cold plunge lately,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's been
I
the rage for
hadn't.
the last couple of years.
I've heard of it, but I was with my CEO with Spoke, and he and I were talking, and I was asking, "How you doing? How you doing?" He says, "Hey, I want to show you what I'm doing here," and he shows me a video of himself getting into one of these cold plunge tubs. You can
Hmm.
buy these now. I guess
Hmm.
you put them in your basement or whatever, and they
Couple
get them
bags
down
of
to like,
ice in a bathtub does the same thing, by the way.
well, they get it down to like 40 degrees.
Hmm.
And the whole thing is that you're supposed to stay in there for about 5 minutes. And so
You
he
should work
shows
your way up to that.
that's what I heard.
Hmm.
And he said he worked his way up to that. Now, he showed me a video of himself getting into this thing. Um, and he just gingerly put himself in there and submerged himself in the water. And I said, "Did you just tell me that that water was 40 degrees?" He didn't even change expression. And
Yeah.
I said, and he said, "Yeah." And I said, how do you just do that? Just get in there because my body rejects that. And he said, "Oh,
Hmm.
I have a group of friends that we decided to share videos, and normally I would act like that, but I didn't want them to think I was wussing out on this. So
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
been
that
all
was
the
pretty
rage the
cool.
last couple years. So apparently, and Rogan's been doing it for a long time, and he's got his
Is that
friends
right?
doing it. And
Huh.
this is where the rubber meets the road, though. Dr. Andrew Huberman of the Huberman Lab podcast, he is a big proponent. He's a neuroscientist, and he's jacked. And he's a big health advocate, a nutritionist
Wait, you say
advocate.
jacked? Does that mean he's excited or he's like pumped up or what?
Pumped up. He's
Yeah.
built. He's a
Oh, okay.
specimen. He's a specimen of a
Aha.
human being.
Yeah.
And he's
And
brilliant. I just love that guy. Everybody respects him. His podcast only started a couple of years ago. It's huge. He's a big proponent, and he talks about it from the neuroscience point of view. And apparently, you get out of there, and your dopamine is through the roof. Rogan says that he has the best day ever after getting out of there after a workout. I think he does before workouts, which I would find. Here's the thing, dude. Now, people even say, "Hey, do it with a cold shower." I hate cold water.
oh, me too.
I always have. I mean, I hate jumping in a swimming pool when it's cold. Lake
Same.
Erie is always
Yeah.
cold and never go in there because it's got to be
How
80
the
degrees before I
yeah.
go in there. And
You
that's like
see,
one day in August, you know?
yeah, okay. See, same with me. I can't stand it. I mean, I get in that water when it's cold and I'm like, ah,
Same,
and it's just it's
same.
I can't, it's hard to even force myself to dive into a cold pool. And when I say cold, I'm talking, like you're saying, anything below 80 degrees is
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
80 now.
Mm-hmm.
This past summer, my friends Mike and Amy have a pool and they would invite us over. And at the beginning of the summer, it was like, I don't know, maybe 80 in the pool, and I was kind of chilly in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
but by the end of the summer, it was up to 99 degrees in that pool. And I gotta tell you, I didn't think I would like that, but I did.
Oh, did
And
you? I
yeah,
thought
and
it would be like, yuck,
no,
kind
because
of.
it was still hotter outside. And because it was like
I was thinking
110,
body temperature because you're
115.
talking 1 degree warmer than your own body temperature.
Well,
So I
here's the
thought that
deal.
would not be good.
I thought so too, but it was really wonderful, especially if you're just standing around because your body is kind of wet and the air is
Mm-hmm.
cooling your body. And also they have shade over the pool too. So that makes a big difference. But I thought, man, jumping in a 40-degree pool or tub of water would be very, very challenging for me. But I
Agreed. And I've been thinking that it's I'm hoping that it's one of those fads that the scientists, all this, it's like egg yolks. One year they're good for you, the next year they're bad for you.
Or
The next,
milk,
yeah, milk, coffee, all
right?
the same. You know, just pick a year. It's that studies are going to be different, and I'm hoping to God that oh no, cold plunges that's actually bad for your heart. You shouldn't do that.
Well,
That's
it's
what I'm hoping.
interesting you say that because I looked it up because it wasn't just Vince Kelly is my CEO at
Mm,
Spoke, and he's a specimen. I
mm,
mean, he's retirement age, and he's built. He cycles all the time, like 100-mile bicycle rides, and he lifts weights, and he reads like 100 books a year, and he's just one of those guys. And he was telling me about these benefits, and they seemed like this can't be real. But anyhow, I looked it up, and I'm just going to read a list
mhm.
of benefits
I
here.
want to hear it.
Uh, Reduced inflammation, huge.
Mhm.
Endorphins boost. You
I
mentioned
got to
that.
tell you, reduced inflammation is very huge.
I mean,
I
seriously,
forgot about that. Yeah.
as we get older, this is all of these things. Cold water immersion may have anti-inflammatory effects due to the I shouldn't have even tried to do that. Viscoconstriction and vasodilation of your blood vessels. As blood vessels constrict and dilate, the flushing of toxins and edema can help reduce inflammation in muscles and tissues. Athletes often turn to cold plunge therapy to expedite muscle recovery. Okay, moving on. Endorphin boost,
Yeah. There you
dopamine
go.
spike,
Mhm, mhm.
better sleep,
Mm.
reduced stress, diminished aches and pains, improved injury recovery, reduced swelling, potential testosterone increase. What?
Mm.
Seems like it would be the opposite.
Mm.
They said, take a cold shower. Well, that's just supercharging a guy in there, probably,
Ah,
according to this.
yeah.
Promotes lymphatic drainage, and enhanced immune function, hormone regulation, only two more, metabolism boost, and improved insulin sensitivity.
Wow, Merle.
That's
Apparently, we should start doing that.
well, I was over at my friend Mike and Amy's house, and we were talking about this last night, and he's like, well, we should do this. I got a pool. It's almost 40 degrees in that pool right now because it's been cold here. And he goes, you want to do it tomorrow? And I said, let me think about that.
Well, again, you should start off with like 30 seconds the first
Yeah,
time.
that's what Vince told me is that you
Mhm.
got to work up to this.
Yeah.
But he told me that after he started doing this, he just was having these fantastic days, lots of
Everyone
energy,
says that.
very clear. One of the things he said to me that wasn't in this list was that something like an 80 to 90% reduction in the potential of Alzheimer's. And so like that,
Wow.
there's a huge reduction in there. However, as I was looking at this, I got a chat warning on this because now when you go on I guess Google, you get that too.
Mm.
But it says here, some of the benefits may include easing sore muscles, reducing inflammation, boosting mood, enhancing recovery after exercise. However, the evidence for cold plunge therapy is not conclusive, and there may be some risks involved, such as hypothermia, shock, or infection. Therefore, it's important to
Infection.
consult your doctor before trying cold plunge therapy.
You
Nah,
know, I never thought about the hypothermia
yeah,
aspect. That
right.
makes
Like
all the
that
sense
was
in the
the
world.
first thing I thought of was,
Ah.
somebody was we were talking about I was at a party last night and somebody said, "Yeah, so what are you telling me the guys that fell into the water in the Titanic felt good for the first 5 or 10 minutes?" It's just like, I don't think so.
Uh, okay, that's a weird comparison, but,
But it's ice cold water. I mean,
mm.
it's that's what they went into. So I've fallen into ice cold water and did not feel any kind of woohoo
Well,
afterwards. I
no,
was just like,
and
thank God I'm out of that.
Rogan says he's basically addicted to it, but he doesn't enjoy it until he gets out,
Well, yeah, I
okay?
don't
I mean,
I don't
there's
think
that.
anyone enjoys it until they and then getting out, just trying to warm up after that. I can't I don't like to be cold to the bone.
I
It
know,
is a
dude.
bad thing.
Mhm. Same.
But when you look at all these benefits, like you said, it's like maybe we should try this.
I know.
You first. I mean,
I don't, let's see. We have a bathtub in Lisa's bathroom. And that's it. But I mean, you could start with a cold shower. Dude, I hate being cold in the shower. In the
me
winter,
too.
I have a hard time getting out of the shower because as soon as I turn that water off, it's like,
I know, right?
I
Exactly.
don't like
Well,
it.
I remember when I was a freshman in college, I was living in the dorms, and those showers would never warm up.
Yeah.
So I had to uh practice the art of cold shower. So, you get in real quick, and then you get out and you soap yourself up, and then you jump in and go, and then you come out, okay, I'm done.
See, you were practicing that 30 years ago.
I guess so. I sure didn't like it. And I didn't feel energized afterwards when I went to my I didn't feel any smarter when I went to my classes. But speaking of that, Barry,
Oh,
let's just take a trip down memory lane
okay.
to our college days,
Mhm.
because I got up this morning, Barry, and I felt giddy. And
Oh,
here's why. Because I knew I was going to be talking to you. And every time we have our show, I feel that way. But this
yeah.
morning I had
Same.
a special thing happen. First off, I want to pull up a picture that I took this morning. Okay,
Oh,
can you
this
see
is
that?
this morning?
Yeah,
Oh, how
this is
beautiful. Thank you for
I
sharing
mean
this.
I mean seriously, Barry, this is my backyard. This is what I
Uh-huh.
wake up to in the
Oh,
morning. Now look at this. You see this right here?
it's a bird.
It's a blue heron right
Okay.
there. And they're pretty spectacular birds, and they're migratory birds, and they come by like only for about 2 months out of the year, and they sit around here. That's just one. While after I took this picture, I wish I would have kept it on video, because right after I took this picture, these huge white egrets all came descending down onto,
Egrets?
we're all they're big white birds. They're huge. They have a wingspan of like
Uh,
6 feet.
uh.
And they're white, like pure white. They're beautiful with real
Mm.
long necks. They kind of look like storks. That's what
Okay.
you would think they are. And they
Okay.
all descended down right here into the water.
Mm.
It was spectacular. But anyhow, I was getting
Well,
ready
now
for the
that you
show and
mention
everything.
it, dude, it looks like there's white birds in that lake in the background.
There could be. I didn't see. I'm not sure, but that's where they all sit. Is over
Mm-hmm.
here on the
Mm-hmm.
edge, and all around. They just sit here, and they're migratory too. They
Mm-hmm.
only show up end of December. They're out of here by the middle of next month. Who knows where they go? Like in the morning, I usually just see them sitting there in the morning and wonder where did they come from. And then at night, as the sun is going down, they all take off. They circle around that lake, and then they fly right over my house. And I
Oh,
always
how
wonder,
cool.
where are they going? It's like,
Yeah.
what's the next stop here? Like, it's nighttime. Where are you guys going? And I don't know if the next day it's the same birds there, or if it's a whole group of new birds that just
Mm.
came. It's a really cool thing. Anyhow, let me get back to my thing. So I'm getting ready. I'm all like, oh, I'm late. I'm trying to hurry up. But then I saw this, and I'm like, you know what, Merle? Smell the roses. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is what
Mm-hmm.
life is really all. Look at the beautiful thing you have in your
Mm-hmm.
backyard right here.
No,
And
it's
then
a
I
great way
started
to
getting
start the show.
then I started getting this Friday morning feeling, and like, oh, I'm going to be talking to Barry. And I had a
Oh, how
flashback
cool.
to college when
Ah,
you and I lived together.
yeah.
I used to, on Friday morning, I used to have an 8 a.m. Radio show that I would do until 11 o'clock. And so I'd wake up real early, and I'd feel real excited about the weekend, and just, and I love doing my radio show too. And this is a lot like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd come in, I'd do that show, and as soon as I was done, I didn't have any more classes on Friday. By noon, you and I would be out there
Yeah.
on Willow, I think it was, chucking the frisbee back and
Oh,
forth to each
right.
other, thinking
Right.
about like, what are we gonna do tonight,
Yeah.
and what are we
Yeah.
gonna cook on that grill, and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Man, we really did have a great time
We
back
did.
then.
We did. We sure did. I sure do miss playing frisbee. I say all the time. I would play today if somebody would play with me. I would
I
play all
know,
day.
right? I feel the
Yeah.
same way. Or like just I, that I had a football back there, no one will play catch with me.
Oh, I love throwing a
I'm like just
football.
throwing it to myself, Come on,
Oh, I
somebody.
do that with a frisbee sometimes, but I love tossing a football. That's fun. All right,
I wish
speaking
you
of
lived down
shares,
the street, man.
I want to do a share here, and this is regarding the last podcast last week with
Oh yeah,
Dr. Heather
I heard it
Brown.
was a good one.
It was really a fantastic one, and as a matter of fact, I think I recorded. I had Merle's friend from New Hampshire. She reached out. And she said, I listened to your podcast this morning, and this is one of your best. And I said, thank you, Mo. That's really makes my day. I'm assuming the latest with Dr. Heather. She says, yes, exclamation point 3 times. She was very genuine in how she spoke on a topic that can often sound very scripted and oversimplified. I totally know what she's talking about there. I always appreciate people who suggest alternative ways to approach conversations with those that are most important to us. Thank you for hosting her discussion. Have an awesome week. I said, thank you for the valuable feedback, Mo. Yes, Dr. H has a way, has all the lights on in everyone's home. And so I just want to say, I strongly encourage you guys to, you could just go to over50startingover.com and find it there. By the time you get there, this podcast will be in its place, but you can go to all 050 podcasts. And by the way, it'll take a minute to load because there's 250 videos on that page. And Merle, I just wanted to say last week was 250. This is 251.
Wow.
And I'm proud of that. That's
I
quite
am too.
an accomplishment. And we've really done, I mean, for her to say that was one of the best podcasts is such a huge compliment because we've done amazing podcasts
Yeah, we
since
really
the very
have.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so again, I want to encourage you guys to go and look her up. And by the way, yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, got an email from her. We were talking about her book there. By the way, so the first time she came on, dude, it was a year ago, a year and 1 month ago, because it was December of 2022. Your cousin just passed away.
Yep.
And
I
you
remember.
couldn't do the show because you were just too distraught. And
it was a very special show.
It was. I came across her like it was a divine intervention. I'm not kidding. I mean, like it happened in a second. And she's like, sure, I could do the show. And she came right on. We had an amazing podcast. It was dedicated to you. It was about you. It was about grief. And she specializes in both grief and primarily relationships. And so this one last week was about relationships. And like Mo said, she approaches things in a very impromptu, very genuine respect. I asked her, what's going on with my microphone? I'm getting.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
This is getting irritating. I asked her very nuanced questions. I never follow a script. I want to really dig inside someone's head,
Right.
And
I think that's key to a good interview.
Yeah, you can't trip her up. She's got a great answer for everything. Like she just thought about it. Not that she just wrote about it, not that she just spoke about it, but it's like she just thought about it, And so again, I encourage you guys to go look at
that picture up for a second, because I love the picture that of you two in that shot right there. I don't know if you randomly picked that or not.
I did not. Google did.
Okay, because look at that. She's so expressive there on the left.
Truly is.
And look at how introspective you are right there. That's a really cool picture.
She's riveting, man. And by the way, so it was a year since we had spoken, and it was like, and I said it on the podcast, it was like a week ago to me. I mean, we just she's a friend of the show. We talked about you. She was just, give him all my love. She loves you. She's not even met you. She absolutely loves you. And just a dear friend of the show. And she's like talking to an old friend. I can't wait to have her on again. I do want to mention, this is her webpage, drheatherbrown.com. And you can get Speaking with the Heart, her book that came out like this morning or yesterday. You can get it from here, from Amazon, wherever, but I strongly encourage it. And she's going to do an audio version soon too. We talked about that. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
I want to plug one more thing. This is coming up next week. This is Mark Tennant, our friend Mark Tennant, who the last time he was on the show, he introduced us to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing show, absolutely astounding. We both learned so much from that. We're going to do a follow up on how to use AI with your business. This he's doing a talk right now as we speak and mentor to this Think Manufacturing
Hmm.
group.
Hmm.
And just want to say Mark Tennant is currently at Philips as a service education, e-learning, and content developer. He combines his rich experience in technology with a passion for practical AI solutions with his venture AI for Business. That's his
Hmm.
side business. Mark's journey in AI began with a curiosity for machine learning in 2015, leading him to explore how it can realistically benefit businesses, and especially for business owners and professionals over the age of 50. Mark and I did happy hour last night and we talked all about this extensively and we got him confirmed for next week and it's going to blow your mind, Merle. It's going to he blew my mind last night about
Ah,
how
huh,
he's using AI at a whole nother level yet again.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So he's
Um,
going to talk about how you can. This is just a little taste, but
yeah, yeah.
develop certain content, create email campaigns and social media posts in an instant from that. So it
Wow,
automates your business completely.
boy.
It's fascinating and scary how quickly this has taken over everything.
I think that's the thing too. It's sort of astounding. It's sort of a runaway freight train. It's taken on its own volition, right?
Hmm.
And then where does it end? I'm in healthcare and AI is inundating healthcare
Oh
right
yeah,
now, which I can see lots and lots of benefits
me
for
too.
AI in
Me too.
healthcare, but I can also see where there could be some scary things with AI as well. And, one little mistake that gets amplified, because that's how healthcare works, is that one thing can always be amplified to become a terrible thing
Yeah.
depending on how it's used. So I know that's what AI is supposed to prevent. So that's the good thing. And you look at healthcare today and everyone is overworked. Nurses today are being interrupted on average every 5 minutes. So
Mhm.
try to do a very complex job where you have to have very alert thinking, and then but you're getting interrupted every 5 minutes. I have that just when I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working on something and I get a text or something and
Yeah.
over here, and then oh, what was I doing?
But the
Well,
damn
these people
emails.
have lives on the line with that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And if you drop the ball once, somebody could pass away. So this is something AI can definitely help with. Let's see what happens. I guess
Well,
that's where we are right
that is
now.
one industry where I can only see massive benefit, to be quite honest, because I use Chat GPT to help my mom create a new diet because she has a kidney disease. And it's a very particular one. And it's also, so we typed in would be a good diet for this because she was given this vague outline from the doctor's office. So, the Xerox canned BS and in no way tailored to her. So we went on chat together. This is a couple months ago, and type this in. Now, understand that it has access to all the major medical journals. So it's like having a giant room full of the smartest doctors in the world at your disposal. But they all agree on things, which would never happen in real life. So we typed in her condition and asked it for a weekly diet and break it down into the days. Then I said, but I'm a female, 82 years old. Then it changed everything
Right,
to
right.
compensate for that. Then I put in her potassium level, her exact potassium level, because that's supposedly like the key thing with this condition. Totally changed that diet. So it optimized this diet. Then I had it produce a list of groceries for the week for that. And
That's pretty cool. I mean,
dude,
you
way
can't
cool.
deny how convenient, how beneficial that is. Like I said, in healthcare, I think this is a big winner. My
Yeah.
only concern is this, is that and you actually touched on one of my concerns, is the how I'm learning that chat can be biased. and that it is accessing all these medical journals. And what I've seen in healthcare through the medical journals, especially over the last 3 years, is that they're not necessarily, it seems like they've been corrupted, okay, through the whole COVID thing.
Very much
They
so.
started to say things that just weren't true. There's this big
It
debate about,
hallucinates too. They call it hallucinating.
and there's this big debate about natural immunity versus immunity caused through vaccinations, and there's this bias in the medical community that vaccinations actually cause a higher level of immunity, where they never said that before. It was always your natural immunity is the strongest. So now
I'm in complete agreement with you. If you
yeah,
get on anything that touches along political lines,
yes,
you're going to find a bias.
and
Yeah,
that's my concern,
mine
because
too.
the biasism comes directly from people that have control over
You
mechanisms like
can,
chat.
though. You can make it think through that. Believe it or not, you
I'm
can
not
make
saying
it
that
think through it.
I'm not saying that I'm totally against this. What I'm saying is
Mhm.
there's some huge risks here.
There are,
And
as we move forward, for sure.
this is the thing is, do you trust your doctor, or do you trust the computer, or do you trust the doctor using the computer? I mean, let's just say this:
Now that's a
healthcare
big
has
issue.
changed dramatically. And it used to be where
Yes, it has.
doctors had independent practices, and they were
Obamacare
on
took
their
care of
own.
that.
Yeah, now all of them work for hospitals that are
Hmm.
financed by the federal government,
Hmm.
and therefore the government politics has a big play in healthcare. This is why I didn't want to have the Obamacare in the first place,
Right. Right.
because politics is a dirty, dirty business, as we've seen. And why do we want that in healthcare? And
No, no, I
anyhow,
agree. Now there's a saying, I forget exactly how it goes, but this is the gist of it, is that you have to take your own health into your hands when it comes
that
to
is the
healthcare.
truth.
And
Yes.
Lisa is all about that. Like, I am such a agreeable type of personality. That's a psychological term, actually. And so I tend to go along and play nice and all that. Lisa goes in, grabs the bull by the horns, and doesn't let go. And I mean, coming to healthcare, coming to anything. And it's said today, you have to do that. You have to press those doctors for that extra blood analysis, for whatever and everything. And the same goes for the chat. This is funny. This is the dichotomy that is coming about, is the more automated we get, the more government is trying to take over our lives, the more AI is trying to take over our lives, the more we also have to be autonomous and have accountability. In other words, as you're talking about, don't believe chat when it's got these biases baked into it. Correct. You have to understand that you have to challenge it. Here's one that'll blow your mind. Mark was telling me last night. You know that chat can generate pictures, right? And I'm like, well, I didn't think chat could, but I knew that AI Journey and all these other things could. He goes, no, right from chat, you could have it generate pictures. He goes, I do it. Well, it came to me. He goes, yesterday, I asked it to generate something. It told me it couldn't. It replied to me. It said, I'm sorry, I do not generate pictures. I only give written feedback. Mark says to it, no, you just generated a picture for me yesterday. Look it up. And it says back, I'm sorry. Yes, I can do that. What is the picture
That's
that
crazy.
isn't
Wow.
it crazy?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with here. It's mind blowing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we almost in some ways have more accountability than ever because we have these powerful tools at our hands, and powerful tools have to be used responsibly. So that's my point to that.
Well, it's interesting as you're saying that, because my daughter Hallie put something on Facebook just recently. She says, to my fellow Adobe app using artist friends, and then this person is saying, Adobe wants to take your work without your consent. They just snuck this toggle into everyone's account setting and set it
Wow.
to on by default. And then she said, this shouldn't be, well, she put some terrible words in there. This shouldn't be happening. That's not, my daughter didn't say that. This other
Uh,
person said that. But
uh,
but here's what it says. Okay, there's a content analysis here. So Adobe may analyze your content using techniques such as machine learning or pattern recognition for development and improve our products and services. So you put stuff on this, and so this is kind of the same concept. You're an artist, you put your you know intellectual property
Portfolio.
on
Mhm.
these, right? I mean,
My
because that's
portfolio is online. Yeah.
that is your intellectual property right there.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
your creation, and they can steal that
Mhm.
legally. And here they just update your program and just turn it on and just suck all your IP legally without even telling you. Or just how nefarious is that? I
Well,
just
that
This
comes
is
down
where
to
we are.
a huge philosophical discussion because what it's technically doing is taking parts of your artwork
Yeah,
and
yeah,
putting it together with other parts of other artwork. And
to
it's
make it
kind of
even
like,
better.
at what point are you plagiarizing as a
Hmm.
human being? Because you didn't have every original thought. You had no original thoughts. Every
Right,
thought that you have, every piece of knowledge you have was learned from someone else.
right.
And so at what point are you plagiarizing?
Well, I think plagiarism is a pretty important subject right now as we
I
take a
think
look
we
at
should
what's
consult
happening.
Dr. Gay from
Yeah,
Harvard.
right.
He's
Claudine
the
Gay.
expert. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
when you really think about that, Claudine Gay, the ex-president of Harvard,
yeah.
also still on staff at Harvard.
I
You
didn't
knew
know
that,
that.
right? Oh, okay.
No.
So here's the deal. Is she So she resigns as the president, but she stays on faculty, and she may have actually gotten a raise. She was making $900,000 a year,
You
Barry.
gotta be kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding
This
you.
is where
So
DEI has gotten us. And I could cite other very well-known examples, and I'm
yeah.
not going to though.
So here it is that she now has a less stressful job for the same or more money. That's all we accomplished right there. I would say that the bad guys won on that one.
Yeah. I don't I'm that gets me so angry. And I'm just gonna say, I think it was our last episode that we talked about the awakening from woke, and
Yes.
really hoping that that incident in particular was a catalyst to get us to DEI is. I remember, damn, my microphone's doing
There
something.
you go. You're good.
All right, I think it's yet again a cord issue, and they're kind of expensive.
They are.
Anyways, I was hoping that her case in particular would be the catalyst in 2024 to shed light on the failure that is DEI. And I don't remember the guy's name, but there's one key originator of DEI. And first of all, I want to credit Obama for his executive order in 2011 with beginning this stuff at the federal level. But one of the originators of DEI has admitted that studies show that it's nope, it does not work. It goes in reverse. It does more harm than good.
Well, Larry Fink over
I
at
mean, common
BlackRock.
sense should.
Yeah, I agree. Larry Fink over at BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock, is saying that it
Mm,
was a big mistake and that
that's who's
yeah,
okay.
and he's the one that's implemented it. I mean, think about it.
Uh-huh.
BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard are
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
ones that actually forced
Pushed it.
that policy down the throats of our leading businesses here in the United States. And you take a look at the example of Budweiser and how they lost literally billions of dollars
Yeah.
in a
Gillette did
very,
like 5 years
short
ago.
period of time. And so
Uh-huh.
now he's got to backtrack and say it was a bad idea. However, he's not backing off of that, Barry. This is all rhetoric that's happening right now. They
Mm.
love this plan, and they apparently are not interested very much in the profits. They seem to be hell bent on destroying our businesses here. I
Uh-huh.
mean, when
Like
you take a
Disney,
look at
the
what's
entire
happening, yeah, look at what's happening with Disney. I mean,
uh-huh.
seriously. And so this is a thing. They'll just reintroduce it and name it something different. This is how they do it. This is a common thing. This goes back centuries. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you don't like that? Well, okay, we're going to get rid of it, and now we're going to just put a few other letters in front of it and make it seem like it. No, it's not. It's not plagiarism. It's plagiarism now. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's
Right.
just like, and it's the same thing with the vaccination. It's like, well, now you're immune. Well, and you don't. the vaccination makes it harder for you to get it. It's like they got to change the definition of immunity now. I mean, this is just how the world that we live in. We live in a dystopian world right now,
We
and
do.
now we have to understand how to navigate these waters of the dystopian world.
Well, okay, I'm going to show you something. I just looked it up on YouTube. 5 years ago, Gillette came out with the toxic masculinity commercial. This is mind blowing. I'm going to
It
preface
is
it
mind
with
blowing.
Gillette makes razors for men. That's their target audience. Watch this. I got to make sure I share the
love
sound.
this.
I did
Yeah.
not.
Oh, good catch.
Yes.
Bullying.
This is
The Me
mine.
Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it?
Now it's a minute and a half, so it's a little,
We can't
this is
hide
good.
from it.
Sexual harassment.
just a total diss on men.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I
Just how
actually
terrible we
think
are.
she's trying
And
to
we
say.
can
Making
be.
the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
I'm going to move ahead a little bit.
Yo, men, we're acting like we gonna shake it.
And small.
I am strong.
All right, that's so slow. I can't take it anymore. But the moral to the story is they lost billions. They lost billions on that. 5 years. There's and through 5 years, all these other look at Disney. Disney's like tanked as a result of their wokeness and all of Hollywood. And they still keep pushing out these woke movies that bomb and never learn. Rotten Tomatoes. This is, I think we talked about it in the last episode. But I thought so much about this, to make a movie, you have to have investors and you have to have producers, and all of these people in Hollywood have to virtue signal their wokeness first and foremost to get financing to make a crappy movie that critics, in order to have a career, have to propagate the same wokeness. Then it finally hits the audience and we're like, this sucks. This absolutely stinks. And it fails. And yet they keep doing it. What a vicious cycle it is.
I just have to say I'd never seen that commercial before. That was the first time I've seen that, and I'm still in shock, and I'm angered by that. I can't even believe that they used the profits that they made off of men to disparage men.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
they lost billions.
They deserved what they got out
So
of
did
that.
Bud
In
Light.
fact, I used the Mach 3 Gillette razor, and it is really good. But if I can find an alternative, I will now. I mean, that just, are you kidding me? As much money as I've spent on those darn razors, and you're going to say that's how you're going to come in and help society by disparaging all men. This is, I mean, remember the war on women? There is a war on men and
oh, sure there is.
And it is sick. And we can see what's happened as a result. Our cities are inflamed with violence. And that is because we live now in a maternal society. When you take a look at the Black community in general, we've talked about this many times, that before the civil rights movement, about 80% of Black families had a mother and a father with the kids. Today, after civil rights, where the government now replaces the father in the home, those numbers are reversed. About 80% of Black children coming up today are coming up in a single parent household, mostly their mothers. And then you take a look at these inner city statistics where Black on Black crime, it's Black men killing other Black men. The number one leading cause for young Black men of death is murder by another Black man. And so we've got a serious problem. We've got a cultural problem here that just doesn't seem like anybody has the guts to step out and really take this bull by the horns, because this is, if we really care about Black lives, then we should look at where the Black lives are being extinguished. And this is where it's happening, and we've got to stop this. And while we're at it, let's stop lowering the bar for Black men or Black people in general. Let's not give Black people a pass when it comes to, let's say, passing the bar exam if you want to be a lawyer. Why would I want to have a black lawyer if they didn't have to attain the same levels of success in school as a white lawyer? I'll pick a white lawyer every day if that's the case. Or how about a black doctor versus a white doctor? Are we going to do the same with that kind of thing? We've seen this kind of thing before, and it destroys the society. And that seems to be, where we're headed. And so I have a question for you, Barry. How is it that in this time, I mean, as we take a look at our country right now, I never thought I would see our country in the shape that it's in right now.
I feel
we have an invasion that's happening at the southern border right now.
It's
very, very dangerous. Our money is flying out of our coffers to countries like Ukraine. We're bombing the Houthis in the Red Sea right now that are attacking other countries, not necessarily ours. Are we the policemen of the world right now? We have people in Davos last week talking about basically how they're going to take over the world. How is it that you can maintain? How do you maintain happiness personally in an environment like this? How do you keep yourself upbeat?
Wow, that's a tough one. But there's a lot of things a lot of replies that I had to everything that you said. I'll get to that. I want to say about the bombings. It was like yesterday. I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one, but it was probably Dave Smith, probably, that we actually bombed last week 5 different countries, the United States. And it's unprecedented. This is during the Biden administration. Remember, Trump was supposed to get us into World War III?
Yes.
Why is it that everything that they say is always the opposite?
I mean, you almost have that as your blueprint, right? Like, whatever these people say, just believe the opposite because it's true. Like when they say,
if they're calling you a racist, they're being racist at that very moment.
That's right.
In time.
Or when the whole January 6th thing has me going because they're talking about an insurrection, but I've never seen where the inaugural address had a big fence around the Capitol and no press was allowed in there. That seems like an insurrection to me.
Right.
I mean, and I've seen films and I've read books about insurrections. They don't happen like what we saw on January 6th. There's lots of weapons. There's lots of death. There's lots of blood. And basically they're trying to take over the government and in perpetuity. I didn't see anybody trying to do that. So when they say it's an insurrection or President Trump is guilty of leading an insurrection, it makes me think the people that are saying that are the ones guilty of leading an insurrection.
I totally agree with you.
I mean, and look what they're doing. I'm telling you, Barry, I want to get back to this question. And then after that, I want to talk about what's happening at our border, because what I see happening in Texas tells me that we could be on the border of a civil war.
And
So
I did what you unpacked a lot there a couple of minutes ago. I wanted to just mention one other thing about you said about Davos. I'm going to share this.
I want to talk about those things individually, but I wanted to talk about how do we maintain our happiness when these things are happening. And I thought it was interesting to ask you how you do that. And I have some ways that I do that myself.
That's kind of interesting. Dr. Heather and I talked a bit about the happiness concept. She had a really good, I'm on her email list. She sends out 1 or 2 emails a week that are really, I plugged it on the podcast because they're very digestible and some really hit home. So like I could start a day just in 3 minutes reading it and be like, damn, that was good. And she talked about the happiness concept a couple of weeks ago and about like, all I want to be is happy. Why can't I just be happy? Just be happy? Like who the hell is just happy? It's life is hard. And I think that you get a degree of happiness through completion of some things, achievements. I'm not even sure what, but maybe that's a degree of satisfaction. I think that to even define happiness is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
for
you're
me.
touching on something good, because is happiness lack of sadness or lack of trouble or lack of obstacles? I don't know if it is. I
don't. I think it's the opposite.
Yeah, because
it's overcoming these things.
Yeah, I think
being able to deal with them.
Nothing think about, and we talk about working out and how it's the resistance that actually causes you to grow.
There you go.
And here in life, resistance is what causes you to grow. And so, do you relish having a tough day at work, or I'm a salesperson having a tough sale that I'm going through? Well, no. However, when I cross that goal line and I've made that customer happy, and they sign on the dotted line, then there's
Success.
a happiness. Yeah, that success thing, that glory part. There's no. It's like they say, nothing's worthwhile that's easy. And so
Sounds like we came full circle back to the cold plunge.
just jump in that cold water.
Yeah, apparently it sucks the whole time that you're in it, but when you get out,
But then you get out, and the Bible talks about a woman experiencing birth pangs, and that being just terrible. But as soon as the baby is born, she forgets about that because of the joy of the baby in front of her that she has.
yeah.
And
that's a good analogy.
we can relate to these things. I remember running track and all the practices and throwing up because I worked out too hard, but then breaking the string and winning the race with my parents there. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that, throwing up wasn't fun, but winning that race made it all worth it, And so these are things that, so back to the happiness thing is, you're right. It is kind of hard to define what happiness is. Do you think that because we have challenges in life, that there's power in just saying that you're happy, that even just saying it can cause happiness to happen?
Now, I can only answer that in one way. You would say yes. Because you and I have had this conversation for years, decades even, and you believe so strongly in the power of the spoken word. And I'd have to say, anytime anybody would ask me something like that, I would say, well, my friend Merle would say, I would have to just give that over to you, because you have spoken so strongly in that regard for so long that I believe it through you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm flattered by that, Barry. That is a huge compliment right there. Well, I have had a lot of coaches, my stepfather being one of them. And I remember when he first got married to my mom, he used to
How long ago was that now?
It's
a long
been
time.
like 100 years. I mean, seriously, they've been married for like 26, 27 years, something like that. It's really kind of crazy to think about, because it still seems like yesterday. But I remember getting around Larry, and I would say something like, man, that thing is killing me. And he'd go, is that what you want? He's got that Southern accent.
Yeah.
No. But after a while, I'd get real angry, like, but I wouldn't say anything because I knew he was right. But that whole exercise, because he was relentless on that, really caused me to think about what was coming out of my mouth, and I have to say that I do believe that, the spoken word, when we hear people speak and we absorb what they're saying, it changes our physiology. Sometimes I've experienced this, but I understand that my own voice speaking those same words means something entirely more meaningful to my subconscious mind. So this whole thing, this art of meditation, we've talked about meditation quite a bit on the show, but Bible meditation is actually muttering something over and over to yourself. Like, you take a scripture and you're saying it to yourself, and as you're saying it, you're picturing it in your mind, and you're seeing it, and you're applying it to your life. But the important part is that you're saying it out of your mouth. And I do believe that increases our belief level in things, and the visualization process causes you to be able to see it before it happens. And there's some kind of power in that whole thing, Barry.
What visualization is what you mean?
It's not just the meditation. It's also, like I said, as you're muttering it, you're seeing it. You're seeing the results in your head.
It's visualization.
You're living it as you're saying it.
That's the secret.
And it's biblically based.
I think it's stronger if you can do it through faith. I
agree. I
I
agree.
think it's much stronger because faith gives you a power outside of yourself. And
However,
when we're
I would
alone,
say,
we're
yeah,
limited.
I
Go
would
ahead.
say that this is like a physical, a physics kind of thing, like gravity. These are
Mhm.
kind of the rules of the universe,
Mhm.
and so
That's how it's talked about.
this is one of them right
And
here.
it is said, and Wayne Dyer talked a lot about this. God rest his soul. What a loss it was losing him. But he was one of the advocates, one of the participators in The Secret, and he talked well beyond that. And he would say that, the universe works on vibrational frequencies. And if you could put yourself in that state of you do own this, you do have this, you have achieved this to the point where you visualize it and you feel it and you are living it, then the universe must comply. That's what he would say.
You know, I mean, there's power in this, Barry. I mean, and as a Christian, I recognize that you don't have to be a Christian to experience this, because again, it's
You
like
don't, but I think it
it's
helps.
I think it does too. But I have an example of when I used to run track, back to the track thing again. I remember freshman and sophomore year, I wasn't winning any of these races that I was running, and I really wanted to win. And I remember it. I would think about the race all day before, because I'd be all jacked up inside and everything, and feeling nervous about it. Was right before that gun went off. My heart was about to explode, but I started visualizing myself breaking that string.
Yeah.
And there was power in that. And I started winning races. I remember I could feel the string breaking, and then suddenly I was the one doing that. And
That is exactly like the that track, that world-class track guy in the 40s, I think it was. You know his name. We've talked about it before. I never remember his name. But there was I don't know, the 7-minute mile or
the
something like.
4-minute mile, yeah, he broke the 4-minute mile.
What
Yes,
was his name?
I forgot his name
Oh,
actually.
okay. But once he did, it was like it couldn't be done. Everyone believed it couldn't be done. And I think
Physically
that
impossible,
shapes
right.
the universe in that way. And
Yeah.
somehow this guy broke it. Now everybody started breaking it
Now,
thereafter.
and it's no big deal now, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like they're getting, 340 something now. So I mean,
Jeez.
it's crazy. I used to run
That
that
is
mile
crazy.
myself, and I mean, it is grueling, that race, but it's all about believability, and that is faith. Believing in something that you can't, not faith in God, but faith in general, is a substance, and believing something you can't see is really the thing. So
And I think my mic went out again. Yeah.
there you go. You're back.
You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, now I hear you again. It's really going wacko.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What was the last thing that you said?
I was just tying off on that whole thing, that just the power of believability, which is faith, is what caused all those people to want. Now, once that one guy broke the 4-minute mile, now they could all believe in it, and they were able to break the barrier as well.
Okay, I want to shift gears.
Almost makes you believe anything's possible if you can
that's
believe
kind of the
it.
moral to the story.
Yes.
And the power of visualization, hope. You know what that is? That's about hope. It gives you hope that there's always hope. And man, without hope, we're talking about happiness. I think hope is a big part of happiness. Just knowing, believing that there can be something better than what you even currently have. Even if what you have is really good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that back to how do we have happiness in this time? Well, hope is a big area.
Everything. It's everything.
If you go back to what you said, having faith in God, that's where I find my hope. And that's and having that hope gives me that energy and that ability to rise above these situations that are happening in the news all around, and enjoy what I have right here in front of me, like waking up this morning and looking outside and seeing that beautiful sight, and just feeling giddy that I get to talk to my best friend on a podcast.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Getting to bigger picture on things and talking about hope. You want to stamp out hope real quickly? Let the government Let the government run your life. There seems to be a very, this isn't BS, man. This isn't, I'm not saying this, taking this lightly. There seems to be a very concerted worldwide effort to turn the entire world, and especially this country, into North Korea, and to have absolute control over the common people. Take a look at California. Did you see the caves that they uncovered where the homeless are living?
No,
It was like yesterday. Yeah, it's
Oh
all
my
over the
God.
news. And I wrote comments to that. It's like, keep electing Newsom, and because you better dig a lot more caves for the rest of the middle class if you keep electing Newsom. And that's what's going on in California. They're destroying the middle class so that the super rich can tax the hell out of all of us, and we could live like paupers. And it's going to be the bourgeoisie and the proletariats again. So I did want to mention this, just a quick share. So I think it was last time you and I talked, I brought up Argentina elected the first libertarian, and it's this guy,
Love that guy.
Javier
I
Milei.
love this guy.
But on the other hand, okay, now there's cool stuff to talk about there. But I got to warn you guys, if you're like, okay, who's this Javier Milei guy? You Google him, and this guy, he looks like your classic libertarian, like a freaking crackpot. He's got a bimbo looking wife. They look weird as hell. And that's what the Libertarian Party has always been so hard for me to take seriously because of that. Do you remember Gary Johnson in the 2016 election?
Yes.
What a dope. He made an ass out of
Yeah,
himself.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I personally just find my beliefs to be pretty much aligned with the Libertarian Party, which is why I always bring up Dave Smith. He's a huge libertarian advocate, and he's freaking genius on what he speaks about too. I love his podcast. Anyways, so Javier Milei, for some reason, was invited for Davos for the first and last time.
Why do they invite? They invited
they didn't know who they were
head of the
with,
Heritage Foundation as well, and he ripped them a new one too out there, and I've never seen that before.
And you're never going to see it again because he's not going to be invited into these circles ever again. They wanted to recruit him into, what do you want to say that into? You would call it the cabal, basically.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this guy spoke out for a half hour, and supposedly, I know where I heard this. It was on Jordan Peterson's podcast. His daughter Michaela was talking about him, and she said that there is an AI translated version on YouTube. I tried to find it, I couldn't. So if you want to watch his speech, and he ripped the WEF, the World Economic Forum, a new one. He really did. He just talked about how they were destroying the world, that they're trying to control everything, and socialism is evil, has never worked, and never will. And I just got to say, he's my new hero. Hardly ever heard of Argentina before him. And he's the one I mentioned on the last podcast that he told them he got elected because they were so out of hope in Argentina. They just drilled their country so into the ground. And he said it's going to be 3 tough years bringing this back. He just told them.
And it is going to be, and it takes a bulldog like this guy to make that happen. And if you look at the history of the last, 70 years of Argentina, corruption, all those Nazis that got away from Germany after World War II, that's where they went. Remember that play Evita, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. That was the what was that name? Eva Caron. Anyway, they were a crime syndicate that ran Argentina down there, and this has been an ongoing situation in Argentina ever since. So this guy's got a big uphill battle, but the people of Argentina have realized what they need, and good luck to that guy. But this is
it could be such a case study for the rest of the world.
It really could be, and it felt
We're
good
heading.
to see somebody stand up to these to the World Economic Forum, and as you say, yes, I call them the cabal or the Illuminati or the one world government or the Satanists that are trying to crush all the things that are good in life, and that is what they're trying to do.
And
so thank God somebody has the backbone to stand up to this tyranny.
I want to continue.
Fascism is what they're let me just say this.
Mhm.
When you take a look at the World Economic Forum and just go to their webpage and look at what their mission is, their mission is to take public companies and use public companies to influence government entities and then create policy.
Mhm.
That's the definition of fascism.
Mhm.
That's what fascism is. And
It,
so they
it,
are the purveyors of worldwide fascism is what they are.
they certainly are. And I want to continue along with that and give some support to what exactly that the fascism movement that's going across the world. This podcast, Jordan Peterson seems to have put out 3 podcasts in the last 3 days. And so this is about 3 days ago. I wish it had some breathing room because I think this was an amazing, important podcast. It was episode 416, and you can see the screen, correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So do you want to take okay, so this is the Revolution of German Farmers with Eva Vladenbroek, whatever is her last. Okay, I got to tell you, this is an amazing podcast that everyone should listen to because they're talking about the rapid fall of Germany after, countries like the United States. We had about a 20-year span of greatness, roughly from 1950 to 1970. And we thought that we were just the Roman Empire that was going to be around for thousands of years. And we're already taking a rapid descent, just like Germany is here. And I don't think anyone knows it. And because we don't get it in our news, we don't get
That's
anything
right.
worldwide worth a damn. And this girl, Eva, whatever her name is 28 years old. 28. She's brilliant. This is a fascinating
So
podcast.
where are you, Ava, and what are you doing?
I'm in Berlin right now in Germany, and I've been on the road here in Germany all over the country for the past 7 days, because for the past 7 days, the country has witnessed some of the largest farmers' protests that Germany has ever seen. And
Look at this. Fascinating. All these truckers and farmers got together and held this mass protest. This is beyond what went on in Canada. You remember when Trudeau froze everyone's bank accounts because they're politically against him? Yeah, well, there's a parallel here.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, the government in Germany is taxing the crap out of farmers in an unprecedented rate. They're making them not use 4% of their land. I don't know what that's about, but I'm telling you, everything is pointing to, in my opinion, this sounds like Stalin's Russia. Back when they took over they did the whole communist movement, took over all of these so-called wealthy farmers' land.
The culottes, yeah. That's what they called them, was culottes. And they were able to demonize these people, to incite the citizenry to go out and kill these landowners. And then they turned these things into co-ops and that the government ran. And millions and millions of people starved to death. That's the outcome.
Cannibalism. They would make them farm their food under guard and not let them eat a single bite.
So we've seen the same thing in Holland, where they screwed up their economy there, and they're farming today in France. Protests are happening in Paris right now, where farmers are. I don't know if you saw this week, Barry, but they've got a manure machine that they're spraying government buildings. They're spraying them down with cow manure.
Awesome.
They also had military people come out to try to stop them, and they sprayed them down with cow crap as well. So this is part of the World Economic Forum and what they're inflicting on these.
And it's going on in the U.S.
It is happening in the U.S. Our farmers are under attack right now, and not to mention the average age of farmers today is in the late 50s, and so a lot of these farmers don't have children to inherit these places, so they're going to be up for sale. The CCP is allowed to buy these lands, which is outrageous that our federal government is allowing this. But they now own a huge, and Bill Gates owns a ton of farmland now.
Because they want us to eat bugs and like it and not own anything and
That's
be
exactly
happy
right.
about it. And this is truly what is going on. And I think when we've talked about this a couple years ago, it may have sounded a little bit extreme, a little conspiracy theory. Hey, it's a reality. It's coming true.
Yeah, now they're out in the open with it.
Now, what does the government want above all else? It wants to control the food supply.
Yeah.
When you're hungry, North Korea, Yemeni
Yes.
Park, I quote her all the time because I listened to her on a couple different episodes for several hours, talking with passion and sincerity and just complete knowledge about what North Korea was and how she's seeing the movement happen right here in the United States. She's totally disgusted by it. But North Korea is about keeping everyone so hungry that they can't think about anything else.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that, and
Mhm.
it's true. I mean, when and here's the other thing, Barry, is that I sent you an article yesterday, but it has to do with mind control and what
I don't
these
think I saw it.
governments are doing. Oh, let me see if I can pull that up real quick because it is it has to do with exactly what you're talking about. Because when we're hungry, we're much it's much easier to control us when we're hungry.
And
So
divided.
yeah, and divided, exactly. So this is called this is an article that came out. Let's see, Robert Malone, the doctor,
Oh,
wrote
yeah.
this, but it's
Yeah, he
it's
spoke
on.
out about COVID in the high point of COVID.
Yeah, I gotta say, and he was one of the developers of the mRNA,
mRNA.
and that is here's the article that I'm showing right here. So this is Robert Malone, and he's coming out with this article about cognitive warfare. And so
Wow.
cognitive warfare is a little bit different. Let's see if I can just continue reading this. Okay. A little bit different than what we've seen with mind control. It's the 5 domains of warfare are land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. But he starts to get into how NATO is starting to use this thing called cognitive warfare, which includes a cognitive attack that directly targets the minds of civilians. Okay, so they're going after non-combatants. This whole thing has to do with influencing your subconscious mind. This is where your hypothalamus is, and so when you look at what does your hypothalamus actually control, it controls your basic functions in your body, but also it contains really your subconscious. Let's see. Unlike psychological operations, cognitive activities are not directed at our conscious mind, but at our subconscious mind, the main drivers of our behavior, emotions. This takes place through hyper-personalized targeting, integrating and exploiting neuroscience, biotechnology, information and cognitive techniques, or NBIC. Mainly using social media and digital networks for neuroprofiling and targeting. Several countries are developing NBIC capabilities and collecting data for use in targeting the cognitive dimension. And these activities are supported by aspects such as data mining, data analytics, and are further combined with artificial intelligence. And we talked about all of these things in our episode. Although most of the cognitive attacks remain below the threshold of armed conflicts, the effects can be lethal and multi-domain, affecting all 5 domains of warfare. It goes on to talk about how countries like China are collecting tons and tons of data on us. As you were talking earlier, you didn't even want to tell you what your birthday is because they can use that type of data against you in cognitive warfare, which the targets are you and me. And there's all kinds of technology that's being used to do this. But the bottom line is social media is the key driver on this, so that we're impacted by this, but it's very hard to tell if we are. The conclusion is on this that it is possible to use the same type of technology that they're using against us to detect when they're actually using it against us, so that we can be aware and use it and protect ourselves. But if you look here, we talked about Obama earlier. In April 2013, President Obama announced the launch of the White House initiative, Brain Research through Advancing Innovation Neurotechnologies. Its goal was to support innovation and would further our understanding of the brain. Russian commentators perceived it as a project to hack the human
yeah.
brain, which it
yeah.
absolutely is. This is a weapon that we're developing, much like AI is a weapon, much like quantum is a weapon that we're developing as well. But this is the new landscape that we're looking at right here. And when we think about cognitive warfare and how it was used during COVID, think about what they were talking about in Davos this week, Barry. They're talking about disease X. They're saying that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. This is a pandemic. This is exactly what happened with COVID. They did the exact same thing with COVID. They planned it out well ahead at a time. They did war games on it. Here comes another one. They're already coming out. They don't care anymore what you think. They're just going to talk about it plainly and in the open. Here comes disease X, and they're saying it's 20 times more lethal. How can a disease that doesn't exist yet be 20 times more lethal? I mean, look what's happening right here. This is insane, man. It's insane. I know we have some other things to talk about, and
I
we're
got
running out
something
of
I
time.
have to talk about.
Okay, go.
Because I need to ask you some questions because I know you'll have the inside scoop. The Kari Lake thing with Jeff
Yes.
DeWitt and who
Pretty crazy.
resigned as a result. That blew my mind. Now, I have to say, this just came about like 2 days ago.
Right.
And when I first read about it, I thought it was like just happened that week or whatever. And no, it was a year ago.
It was March 23rd, 2023 on that one. And so that raises a big red flag for me.
This is what I want to ask about.
I
What the
like
hell's
Kari
going on?
Lake. I met Kari Lake personally. And when you meet somebody, you get a sense of them, especially if you make physical contact with them. And I hugged her. I prayed over her, actually. I laid hands on her and I prayed for her. And we cried together, me, my wife, and Kari Lake. It was an amazing time that we had. So I can't say that I know her, but I like what she stands for. I don't trust politicians though, and she's become a politician now. So now there's nothing about her that I say I don't trust, but you're in politics now. So now you have to go under the lens of scrutiny.
If you listen to the recording with Jeff DeWitt, you would get a firsthand inside look at how politics works as according to Jeff DeWitt.
So let's give a brief thumbnail. So
You
Jeff
go.
DeWitt and Kari Lake are having a conversation in her home. She's recording the conversation. Jeff DeWitt is telling her that there are powerful people back east that want her out of politics and that they are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And they want her out of politics for at least 2 years. Because she's considering running for Senate to replace Kristen Sinema here in Arizona, which would be huge. He was saying that they found a business that they were willing to put her on the payroll for the next couple of years where she really wouldn't have to do anything. And what was her price? I just say, you mean to be bribed? She says, well, it's not really a bribe. He's backtracking.
It was all crystal clear.
Right. It was a bribe. She wanted to they wanted her out of politics. He said there were powerful people from back east. He wouldn't name any names, but he did say that if anybody found out that they were having this conversation, that he could be murdered. Well, this sounds a lot like cabal like people to me that are in the background. And now Kari Lake apparently had given this recording to a reporter who then released it. Now that came out. It was shocking a couple of days ago. And then Kari Lake is saying that this guy, Jeff DeWitt, should resign. And Jeff DeWitt is saying that she said that she also has other recordings of them because apparently they'd gotten together several times, and that if he didn't resign, that she would release those tapes.
Correct.
Exactly. But
so
then
he resigned. So that
he
must
resigned
be really
immediately.
bad. Like that
And
one
he's
wasn't
saying
bad.
he didn't know what was on there. That's BS right there. He
It
knows
must
exactly.
be really bad.
But let's think about something that Jeff DeWitt said is that he said that it seemed like, I didn't know I was being recorded, but if you listen to what Kari Lake was saying, she knew she was being recorded, and she plays up to that.
Oh, she does.
And she does. Oh, you want me to? Not even $1 billion. I mean,
Right.
nobody said $1 billion.
Yeah,
She
this is
said $1
about our
billion.
country.
Yeah,
yeah.
and that the whole thing was a year ago. So why did it take a year? If our government is really that corrupt, which disgustingly it is, and we got to find that out.
Yeah.
But if it's really that corrupt, she's a very conscientious person, right? Shouldn't she have released that immediately? Shouldn't
Well, I'd
we
see
have
these
known
are
about that
questions.
immediately? And why is it in the election season that we find out about it instead of last year?
Exactly. Why? And why? Okay, the first basic question I have for you, you probably have the answer for it. Why last year at that time did they want her to not run for Senate so bad, that badly? Why?
It's the thing is that
Or do
first
they
off,
do this to every? This is a Republican talking to a Republican, by the way.
yeah.
So what the
I
hell,
don't,
man?
well, here's what DeWitt was saying is that they felt like she was too much for the party and that she would hurt the party. That was kind of his explanation. Now, here's what I got out of it was
Okay.
that the Republican Party, in my mind, has been commandeered by globalists, and that I'm registered as a Republican. I'm ashamed of the Republicans, especially after I heard this. The head of the Republican Party here in Arizona saying this kind of stuff. These people seem to be not really in it for the country. They're in it for themselves. They're on the take is really what they are. And they see people like Kari Lake that want to actually maintain the republic that we live in as a threat to their goals of really just taking care of themselves. That's what I see. And she has been very vocal, especially with this whole thing with the thing that happened here in Maricopa County and how a lot of weird anomalies happened during the election. She's making a lot of noise about that, and they just want her to go away. And I look at it this way, that when I look at Democrats versus Republicans, I think that it's because as we take a look at this presidential race that's happening right now, I really believe it's the globalists versus the nationalists. Because when
I'm kind of thinking that too.
We take a look at the Republican race between Nikki Haley and Trump, we see that Nikki Haley has been backed by people
Deep state, man.
like Reid Hoffman, who is one of her number one donators, who's also the number one Democrat donator, who is also financing many of the indictments against Trump. And you've got a lot of that going on. Nikki Haley's on the board of Boeing, and therefore she is part of the military industrial complex. Exactly. And so this, and we know that Vanguard, State Street, and the other one, BlackRock, are all a part of that military industrial complex. And NATO, every time they bring another country into NATO, get this, that country has to switch over to the design specifications of NATO, meaning they've got to buy all new equipment and continue to buy that equipment from those specs, which means Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, they're all getting a big payday, which means all their investors are getting big paydays. This is what's going on, man.
The military industrial complex is now global. That's
what it is.
Wild, man.
And it's run by the cabal. That's what's going on, man. And
so then basically we could take the Kari Lake thing, boil it down to deep state versus an independent.
That's exactly what's happened here.
And that's kind of like Nikki Haley versus Trump.
That is exactly what's happened. Like the Republican Party has been commandeered, just like the Democrat Party has been. Their strategy, they're all working in cahoots. Their strategy is different to make it look like they're on opposite sides of their polar opposites. They're not. They're on the same team. They're all in it to destroy this country. And I wanted to move on to Texas because I think it's important that we cover that. But I want to make sure that we tie off on this one. Did you have anything else?
I do. I just want to really briefly mention that Jordan Peterson's following podcast, which was yesterday, was with his daughter, Michaela. She interviewed him about the fact that the Board of Psychology, or whatever you want to call it, in Canada is trying once again to take his psychology license. And, he's world renowned. And because he put out some tweets they didn't like over a couple years that were anti-trans and things like that. And so they want to force him to go into a re-education program.
Holy cow.
Which he will not graduate from until basically he says 2 + 2 = 5. So he vowed to say, I'm going to take this program. I'm going to play ball with them and see where this leads, but it's not going to end well for them. I love that. That guy is an inspiration to all of us. And I would say he threw his whole career down the drain in 2016 to oppose C-16, which is about free speech amendment. And what happened? It catapulted him into into a global spotlight.
Yeah.
It became a good thing. It's very, very akin, Merle. It makes me often think about you and the stance that you took against the COVID mandates and how it changed your life and how hard that was and how much better you came out as a result of your bravery and sacrifice.
Thank you, Barry. That is a huge compliment.
It's the same. It's the same
thing.
Go
back to that picture that I showed, and I never would have had that not happened.
There you go.
I came out. I came out of that whole thing
way like
stronger.
A rose.
Oh my God! Look at me. I'm nearly 100 pounds lighter. I'm in some of the best shape of my life.
Got out of California.
I have a great quality of life now, and so you can't keep a good man down, I guess.
There you go. And so I want people to be aware of what's going on there, because the things that are going on in this world, and Canada is always, to me, just like California here in the United States, and it's really going authoritarian. And
it's like Newsom and Trudeau are like twins, right?
They are absolutely like twins. And by the way, in that podcast with his daughter, they referenced about 3 times the probability of moving to Arizona because of the freedom.
Yeah, I mean,
culture.
It is. I found out that here in Maricopa County, where I live, is the largest Republican county in the nation.
Oh, wow.
And isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I had no idea. And so that's why this big war has happened here in Maricopa County. And that's why the Kari Lake thing is so important. This is a battleground state. And there's a book called The Blueprint out there, which is the Democrat strategy for turning red states blue, and they're doing it here, and they're doing it in Texas too. I'm going to go to Texas in a second here, but first, just referencing Trudeau in Canada. Court finds Trudeau overreached by using emergency law to end blockade. So that's a big deal in Canada right now, is that the court system is saying Trudeau overreached when he used emergency, his emergency status to shut down those bank accounts of the truck drivers that you just referenced. So I love that that's happening. Of course, the deputy prime minister is saying that they're going to appeal that whole thing, but this is an assault on our rights, on our basic human rights that are happening right now. And this is coming from all sides. We heard rhetoric like this at Davos with Yuval Harari talking about how that our human rights, much like God, is an illusion. It's just a myth. It sounds good. We like to hear it.
Oh my
But just
God.
like the United States, you can't see the United States. And so it's not actually a real thing. It's a myth. And so what he means when he says you can't see, like when you look at the world, you don't see the United States, you see land. It's not the United States. So his premise is that if you can't see it, it's not actually real. He says if you cut open an animal, you're going to find the same parts inside of that animal that you find inside of a human being. So we shouldn't have any more rights than an animal has. And so you look what he's done. How you have to remove God in order to remove human rights. And once you remove God, you can remove human rights. And then as a government, you can completely control these people. Very interesting, that subject. The other subject that they were talking about was mis and disinformation, and how out of control the world is with this mis and disinformation. And somehow we've got to lock down that information so that people will trust us again.
Oh, wow.
What that tells me, Barry, is that you and I are doing our job by getting the word out, and they are afraid of that.
Yes, I was thinking the entire time you were talking about this, thank God for the internet. That's the only way that we have this information, because I mean, none of this is on mainstream TV. None of it.
I agree. And I just want to end, because I am running out of time, but I want to end by talking about Texas, because I am very, very concerned that this is brewing into civil war status.
It might have to.
It might have to. So let's just summarize here. So we've had this Civ-like entrance into the United States across our borders. Texas has been hit by this very, very hard. Our whole country has changed as a result. We've let in enough people over the last 3 years to actually rival the population of several states here in the country. That's how many people we've let in. The interesting thing is that many of the people that are coming over, most of the people that are coming over are men between the ages of 18 and 35. And many are saying, in fact, an article came out today. Let me just pull this. I was looking at this morning. It's this very startling, is that a group of intelligence people are saying that, and have written a letter to Congress saying that the problem is what we saw on October 7th in Israel has a high potential of happening here in the United States, because you now have cells of military age men distributed across the country that, if activated, could cause a real problem, an existential threat for the United States. So Governor Abbott has taken it upon himself to send the National Guard down to protect an area in Eagle Pass, which is where a lot of these illegal aliens are coming across the border to reap havoc. And the federal government didn't like that. The Biden administration didn't like that, took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court now is saying that the federal government can come in and cut the razor wire that Governor Abbott has put up to prevent these people from coming across. So Governor Abbott has doubled down and said, no, I have a duty to protect this. I have a constitutional duty to protect this state. And I think it's interesting that he said he's got a constitutional duty. And he also said that the federal government has relinquished their responsibility and has endangered the state of Texas, and therefore he is in the right. Well, I agree with him.
I think everyone agrees with that.
Well, let's take a look here, because I think it's important. Where in the Constitution does it say that? Here's Article 4, Section 4, which says, and I think this is interesting, this is the Constitution: the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislature can't be convened, against domestic violence. That's number one. And then also Article 1, which is this is the legislative article, Section 10, Paragraph 3 says this: no state shall, with the consent of Congress, lay any duty or tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in times of peace, enter any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded or in such an imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Okay, that's ironclad, Barry.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Dude, why are there not impeachment proceedings against Biden where every other day there were against Trump? Why?
That is a great question, because this has been an impeachable offense for the last 3 years. I mean, starting on day one, this was when he signed that executive order that forbid the stay in Mexico thing that Trump put in place,
Mhm.
and then suddenly it's just like gangs of people just flying through that whole thing.
Mhm.
That should have been an impeachable offense.
What the hell's
Again,
with the Republican Party?
this is what I was saying earlier. The Republican Party has been corrupted. If you get people like Kari Lake in the Senate, she's going to stop this kind of stuff from happening. She's going to expose it. That's what they were afraid of. And that's what's going on. There's no Democrats and Republicans anymore. There's just a bunch of swamp creatures
Yeah.
that are running our country and taking advantage of us and stealing our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
These are our God-given. That's what we went through the Declaration of Independence, and we talked about God, and I remember that conversation, a little uncomfortable. But the fact is, if you take God out of the equation, and that's why I was saying this is so important. If you take God out of that equation, our human rights go along with that. Our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I can see
that are God-given, not given to us by the government.
That is exactly right. And I see the government as a wolf, a ravaging wolf that's just like his mouth is watering. He wants to devour us but the one thing that's standing in the way is this. And look at all the people that are going after that one thing. You got Yuval Harari, you got the president. Look, if people are coming over and when they come across illegally, they're stealing our property as a citizen.
Oh yeah.
The pursuit of happiness is wrapped up in our property rights. That is a fact. It comes right out of the Virginia Constitution. That's where it comes. It's wrapped up around our property rights, not just real estate, but anything, our ownership rights. These people are coming in and stealing that from us. And when we're given free iPhones and free medical care and free room and board and free
coming
food
out of our pockets.
I mean, yeah, we're paying for that. It also says in the Constitution that we don't have that it's illegal for the government to place a standing army in our residence. That's what King George was doing, but that's what they're doing right now. This looks like a standing army, and we're paying for it, and we're giving them residence. We're giving them quarter.
Yeah.
This is sick, man.
And
I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope Governor Abbott does not back down, especially that we're in an election year, because the optics of Joe Biden attacking a state right before the election, I'm pretty sure the citizens here in this country are going to be for sovereignty instead of tyranny.
You know, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, Kristi Noem, North Dakota, I think maybe South Dakota.
I think it's South Dakota.
South Dakota. She sent her army or whatever, reserves or whatever, out to Texas to help them. And that just makes me think,
Lots of states are doing that.
I was going to say, if we had several states, a lot of states actually backing that up, that would start the movement in the right direction.
Well, here's the counter move, Barry, because I think what you just said is accurate. But let me see if I can pull this up. What White House considers taking over Texas National Guard.
Oh my God.
As the battle between the federal government and Texas law enforcement continues in the Lone Star State, the White House has issued a new threat against Republican Governor Greg Abbott as he works to stop the illegal immigration invasion on the southern border with Mexico. For 2 years, through Operation Lone Star, Abbott has deployed the Texas National Guard to build barriers, including miles of fencing and razor wire to keep illegal immigrants out. The Biden administration took them to court, which led the Supreme Court ruling, blah, blah, blah. Governor Abbott is doubling down. White House doesn't rule out federalizing the Texas National Guard. Many governors rallied to Governor Abbott's side to support him enforcing border policy. So the White House is considering taking a very large step here. I just want you to remember something during the Trump administration. That's exactly right. Now, think about this. During the Trump administration, we had our cities burning. Donald Trump refused to take that step because of states' rights. The governor of the state is the one that calls the National Guard. That's how it works. The state is responsible for that. And Trump would refuse to cross that line because there is a line between the federal, state, and local governments, according to the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. And this man in our office right now is very willing to break any constitutional rules in order to get his way, and we've seen it since day
He doesn't know
one.
what he's doing.
No, he's being controlled.
Right.
But that's that. Oh, let me just throw in this. As we take a look at this takeover of our American government, Peter Navarro, who was nowhere to be found on January 6th in Washington, D.C. He's one of President Trump's major advisors, was sentenced to 4 months in prison for defying January 6th subpoena. So he didn't go. They subpoenaed him. He didn't go. He was saying, I wasn't even there. I know what this is. You're trying to railroad me into this. This is a sham. This is a kangaroo court. Well, I mean, Hunter Biden just did it. Nothing happened to him. Obama's former Attorney General Eric Holder did it. Nothing happened to him either. But Navarro's going to prison for 4 years.
Wow.
Bannon is supposed to go to prison for 4 years as well. These people, and look at what's happening. I mean, look at what's happening with President Trump. And this whole new thing that's come out with Fannie Willis, where she is the DA down in Georgia and prosecuting Trump and company for racketeering, which is weird. I've never heard of a politician, a president, being charged for racketeering. But it turns out now that the prosecutor that she hired, who got $650,000 for taking the case, she's sleeping with that guy. And they've gone on vacation where he's paying. So she hires him, gets him a boatload of money. They're now going on vacation, spending that money together. And he's married to somebody else.
Wow.
This is just it's a shit show, man. I mean, come on. I don't normally swear on the air, but there's no other words to describe what's happening right here.
No, there's no other way to say that. I hate to end on a bad note like that.
I know that was a bad note, but the fact is that I still believe there's hope, Barry. The fact is that because of these very bold moves that are being made left and right, people are waking up to this, and they're understanding that they're understanding that this isn't America anymore. We've had our country taken away from us, and the fact is that we can take this back. It's going to take work, like the guy from Argentina said, but we can take this back. But it's going to be us as citizens locking arms together, finding what we have in common. And by the way, I just had a conversation with somebody recently where we found ourselves on the opposite side of the political spectrum. But I said, I think we can find some common ground. I think you and I both would like to walk out of our houses in the morning without being shot at, right? Yes. We don't want to be killed. Okay, well, then that's what we have in common. And we can take that right to the bank, because when we take a look at the immigration problem and the supply chain problems and the problems where we're spending all our military industrial complex and all these things all work together to add up to our personal safety. And I think that's something that we all want, is personal safety. And that's what's being compromised.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We can get this. This is, I say we're going to win this back. That I'm just saying it because I feel it. I believe it. And I know it, but I think it might have to get worse before it gets better. But I think we're on the edge of that.
Agreed. Yeah, we got a whole nother year of it getting worse. So
yeah,
let's see how it goes.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
We'll go with exciting. That. All right. So I just want to say, to end on a positive note, tomorrow at about 28 hours from now, I'm going to be having the best dinner in the most beautiful location in Cleveland, in my opinion.
I love that.
I am so excited. I can't stop.
Well, I hope you and Lisa have a great time. I'm happy that you guys get to do that, and I hope you have yourselves a fantastic weekend as well.
Thank you. You as well, buddy.
Oh, tell the folks where you can find us and all that kind of stuff.
Over50startingover.com. Sign up for the email list there. You get all of this dropped in your email box. As it happens, if you go to YouTube, look us up at Over 50 Starting Over and subscribe. Please share. Most importantly, I think, is go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our podcast, Over 50 Starting Over. Please give us a 5-star review so we can hit more people.
And give comments like Mo did. We love that. We'll even read it on the air. We love it.
Yeah, really
Barry,
appreciate
I
that.
meant to tell you, I love the beard, man. You look cool.
I look old.
No, I think
Thank
you look badass, man. Look at you, man. You're like Clint Eastwood over there.
Clint Eastwood. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll go with
yeah.
that.
Do
Perfect
that.
way to end. All right,
Yep.
bud. Have
All
a
right.
Thank you, man. It was a really good podcast. You really
Yeah,
brought fire.
I think so too. Love you, man.
All right, love you too, buddy. Bye.